Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to be covering the severe weather event that is happening today in the southeast, March 15th, 2025. To start, this is the Storm Prediction Center Day 1 Convective Outlook, and this is valid from this morning at 8 a.m. all the way into Sunday at 8 a.m. So this high risk outlook has expanded a little bit to include parts of northern Alabama and parts of northeastern Mississippi, and this moderate risk for severe weather has definitely bulged upward into the southern central parts of Tennessee and now encompasses much of northwestern Georgia. In the summary of this severe weather event across the southeast, the Storm Prediction Center says it best: a tornado outbreak is expected today across the central Gulf Coast states and deep south into the Tennessee Valley. Numerous significant tornadoes, some of which should be long track and potentially violent, are expected this afternoon and evening. The most dangerous tornado threat will be west of North Georgia, beginning in eastern Louisiana and Mississippi through this afternoon and making its way into Alabama into the evening, and maybe reaching western parts of the Florida Panhandle by the nighttime and western parts of Georgia by tonight as well. The biggest thing that has changed here in North Georgia, especially Northwest Georgia, is that the tornado risk might have decreased just a little bit, but other things have now risen to take its spotlight, and one of them is the damaging winds. So there's a bullseye right over the tri-state area here of a 45% chance of damaging winds or wind gusts of 50 knots or higher. And 50 knots is just 58 miles per hour. So damaging wind gusts of 58 miles per hour or greater. And within any point within this peak, there is a 45% chance you will see those severe wind gusts within 25 miles of any point that you choose. This is an extremely high probability that this area will see damaging wind gusts. So the tornado threat might have receded just a tad for much of North Georgia, but instead I do think there will be a severe wind gust threat that will set up over much of northwestern Georgia, the tri-state area of northeastern Alabama, and south central Tennessee. And this is expected to move through into the rest of North Georgia as you go into the later hours of the night. And on top of this, I do think there is another severe weather threat, and that's flooding. So these storms are kind of racing the models a little bit. This is 7 p.m. This is when northwest Georgia could start seeing some thunderstorms, and some of these definitely have some pretty high probabilities that they could be severe. Really, all the way from central Tennessee down, any of these could be severe. The atmosphere is very much conducive and favorable for supercell development, which therefore at any point, a supercell could drop a tornado. So prepare for the worst. Any of these could be supercells and could drop a tornado. And I do think the severe weather threat starts at about 7 p.m. for northwest Georgia. And keep in mind how long, especially this northwest quadrant, is under the gun here, is under this intense red and sometimes pink colors. This just represents heavy thunderstorms. So this is 11 p.m. They're still not really done. Much of North Georgia still hasn't really seen a whole lot. And then as we go into, this is 2 a.m., it may start clearing a little bit, but 3 a.m., northwest Georgia, much of it is done by then. And much of North Georgia and eastern Georgia is starting to see some of that heavy rainfall and severe thunderstorms. So this is 3 a.m. So it's from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. Northwest Georgia is just going to be seeing rounds and rounds of potentially severe and heavy rainfall thunderstorms. And as a result, the precip totals are kind of scary. So this is within just 7 hours. I'm seeing precip totals up to 3.5 inches. This model is showing for the northwestern part of Georgia, and maybe even localized areas could see a little bit more, towards 4 inches. So I do think flash flooding will be an issue for much of northwest Georgia. And as you guys can see, that flash flooding risk does decrease as you go into the interior part of North Georgia, fortunately. But northwest Georgia, I do think you guys will also be seeing a flooding threat along with a very high risk for damaging winds And keep in mind that tornado threat, it might have decreased a little bit, but it is still there and it is still non-zero. So Northwest Georgia, I do believe you guys are under a triple threat tonight. A tornado risk, a very high damaging straight line wind risk, along with a flash flooding risk that decreases as you go into the interior part of the region throughout the night. So some things to keep in mind. I don't think any of your preparations and precautions should change. The tornado risk might have decreased a little bit, but damaging winds is not something you need to take any less seriously. Damaging winds can still cause damage, and most of the time, straight line wind damage is confused with low-grade tornado damage, such as EF0 and EF1 tornado damage. So it is not something you need to take any less seriously or any differently than what you do with tornadoes. So as a result, I do think if you guys have a weather radio, I would wipe off the dust for that tonight. Going into your evening time, you guys need to have a way to receive weather updates, especially when it comes to flooding, wind risk, and tornadoes for Northwest Georgia. And try to charge your phones. If you guys have a generator, there is a chance electricity does go out, especially if a tornado does hit or if a particularly strong straight line wind does hit your area. It is likely electricity could go out tonight if that happens. And then flooding, stay off the roads tonight, guys. There's no reason for you guys to be on the roads from 8 p.m., 7 p.m., all the way into the morning time. It's going to be cleared out by the time you get up Saturday morning or Sunday morning, so you should be fine then, but stay off the roads tonight. It might be a good night to huddle up in the basement if you guys have one, or if you guys do not have one, to huddle up in an interior room within your house away from windows. We will be keeping you updated here at the Weather Dogs at UGA. I think we will be going live if anything severe starts making its way into North Georgia tonight. So please stay updated with them as well, and please keep a watchful ear to your local news stations and the Weather Channel as we go into the evening time. We'll keep you updated and have a good night.